Hey everyone, me Kevin here. In this video, I'm going to take off my hat, and then we're also going to react to what Dr. Scott Gottlieb has said about COVID and what this might mean going forward. We'll also add some commentary, of course, as to what this might mean for the markets, the stock market. So far, stock market has mostly shrugged off COVID, which is really interesting because leading into the election, a lot of us were thinking, oh, it's definitely COVID that's having a big influence here on the market. And it really hasn't been so far, but let's see if what Dr. Scott Gottlieb here says is any kind of cause for concern about that going forward. So let me go ahead and remind you to get 3 free stocks with Webull when you deposit $100. Get 3 free stocks. So when you deposit $100 worth up to $1,600, use that link down below and get life insurance in as little as 5 minutes. Okay, folks, let's go ahead and jump on over. Oh, I did it. Okay, here we go. It's a lot easier to wear headphones this way. Okay, here we go. Let's see what Dr. Scott Gottlieb has to say in that commentary.
How concerned are you about these numbers, 121,000 daily cases? Do you think that we're heading in the same direction as Europe and the need for more lockdowns, or are we dealing with each case better?
And that is a very important question because remember, the fear right now is, are we going to see the lockdowns that we're seeing in Austria, the Czech Republic, Britain, Germany, France? We've got partial to more extreme lockdowns in all of these countries. And think about what Australia had to go through. They did a 60-day lockdown that they extended to 111 days and finally got the pandemic under control. Now they finally had their first week without COVID transmissions, but still 111 days of lockdown. That would tank, like destroy the markets out here.
Well, we're heading in the direction of Europe in terms of the pervasiveness of the infection here across the United States. Whether or not we need a national lockdown, I think we can deal with this effectively with targeted mitigation on a state-by-state basis. But we're not doing that right now. And so we're building up a lot of trouble for the future. And I think that this is going to explode in several weeks. We're going to see.
Okay, hold on. That was way too much. He just said something very important. So in the last time he was interviewed, he said, I don't think we're going to do lockdowns in the United States because there's no appetite for that in the United States. We won't cooperate with another lockdown. Well, that might be true. And then he suggested that, hey, we should do targeted measures in states. Like, for example, let's do a mask mandate over in Rhode Island. Hey, okay, we've got problems in Wisconsin. Let's ban social gatherings over X. Let's do some contact tracing over there. But, while that sounds nice and good, Dr. Scott just said, we're not doing that. And if we're not doing that, then it begs the question that okay, so you just said we're heading in the direction of Europe. They're locking down. The only alternative to locking down is us doing statewide mitigation. But you're saying we're not doing that, and we're about to get explosive. He's starting to tease us having lockdowns in the United States. That is not good.
These case numbers really start to explode. Remember, 120,000 cases are in 120,000 cases. We're probably at best diagnosing 1 in 5 cases right now, maybe a little bit less than that. So this is at least 500,000 cases a day, probably more in terms of actual numbers of infections. And it's spread across the United States right now. There's only a handful of places where you have really dense epidemics right now. The Midwest, the upper Midwest, the Great Lakes region, Utah, for example. But it's not like it was when we had the epidemic in New York or the epidemic in the South. We had really concentrated infection in small areas. Right now, it's diffuse across the entire United States, but we're building up a lot of trouble for the future. You have to be really worried what January is going to look like, what December is going to look like right now, given the way this is rising. And it's not just the cases, it's the hospitalizations as well.
Okay, well, I got to interrupt again. So wait. Last time we did a video on COVID, he was talking about things getting bad into the end of November and then December. Now he's suggesting things are going to be explosive and really bad in January. That's scary. Folks, this could actually coincide with like the worst possible timing. I mean, think about this. If cases explode by the end of the year in January and we get to the point where we're at capacity again with hospitals, we're having to ration care and we're building field hospitals everywhere and the death rate goes up because there's not enough care. Right now, the death rate's declining. That's good because hospitals have capacity. But if that goes away, death rate could go up. But that might coincide with our December cliffs. I mean, remember what cliffs we have in December. And I'm going to start with the new ones here that I just realized. The CARES Act programs by the Federal Reserve, like the Municipal Credit Facility, the Corporate Credit Facility, the Main Street Lending Program, all of those end December 31st. On top of those programs ending, we will lose unemployed pay for self-employed people, we will lose the CDC's rental protections, and we will lose student loan deferrals. Folks, this is this is not a good trajectory. Let's see what else he says.
That's really the number to watch. 53,000 people hospitalized, 10,500 people in ICUs. That's a lot, and it's growing very quickly.
That said, trying to find a vague positive out of this, Dr. Gottlieb, if the cases really are 500,000 per day, then are hospitalization rates and death rates per case relatively encouragingly low?
It's a good question.
It's absolutely the case that we're doing a better job preserving life in the hospital, and fewer people are being hospitalized. More people are being treated at home. The criteria for hospitalization has gone up, so they're not hospitalizing people as easily. But when you infect this many people, we're going to have a pressed healthcare system. It's just the fact that even if we get the death rates down and we manage people better in the hospital and the flow in the hospital improves, we're discharging more easily, more quickly, we're infecting a lot more people. So eventually the healthcare system is going to get pressed. When you look at what's happening in Utah and South Dakota, North Dakota, Wisconsin, where they're building swing capacity in hospitals, that's going to happen across the U.S. And the challenge is we don't have the ability to backstop that many regions. We were able to backstop New York. We were able to backstop the South. But if you have very diffuse spread across the country, which is where we're heading, it's going to be hard for the federal government to backstop that much.
Wait, that's actually really interesting because in the HEROES Act, the scaled down version, there's something called this nursing strike team where basically they could, if we had that bill, but I'm sure we have things like that in smaller scales without that stimulus package. But anyway, what they have are basically like these nursing strike teams where they could say, okay, we got a surge of cases over here. Let's send a bunch of doctors and nurses over there and clean up and try to make everything better. Okay, let's now move to this area. But if the entire country starts having this issue, we're out of support.
If ever there was a time, Dr. Gottlieb, for the FDA to move fast, now is that time. Where is the emergency use authorization for Regeneron's antibody treatment or some of the rapid saliva tests and some of the other key innovations that have come out that would make this a little bit easier?
That's a really good question from Sarah here. Think about this. Before the election, we were told, Donald Trump and the administration, this is not to be political, but we were told that the FDA emergency use authorization is around the corner for Regeneron and Eli Lilly's drugs. Except now both of those have been put on hold, that you can't use them in severe patients. Donald Trump got it up front because he was deemed to be potentially at risk up front. But we've only got like 50,000 vials of Regeneron. It's not even everywhere in the country. Maybe they'll get up to like 200,000 vials of capacity by the end of the year. But we are way, way behind in therapeutics. This is not good.
Well, really, the near-term game changer is going to be those antibody-based drugs. The vaccines, even if we get an emergency use authorization this year, and I'm on the board of Pfizer, one of the companies that has a vaccine in advanced development, it's really more of a 2021 event until you have protective immunity in people that you've vaccinated. Even if we roll that out this year, it's going to take two injections to get people with protective immunity, and that's really a 2021 event. The antibody.
I did not even realize that. That's right. We had talked about that months ago. But yeah, we keep talking about the vaccine coming out maybe at the beginning of the year. Maybe in March we'll have the vaccine for the elderly communities and then everybody else kind of in the summer. But yeah, you're going to have to go twice for some of these drugs.
Could be available. The challenge there, and I agree with you, I don't know where they are. I thought they would have been authorized already. I don't know what the obstacle is. But we don't have enough doses. So the challenge there is going to be that we didn't make the investments we needed to make in April and May to get the supply on hand. So, we're in a little bit of a bind here, and I think we need to keep that in mind. There's no therapeutic cure coming around the corner. We're going to need to deal with December and January the old-fashioned way: tracking, tracing, targeted mitigation, isolating those who are infected.
Dr. Gottlieb, how worried are you by the story in Denmark that the virus has mutated into Minks and then back into humans again?
By the way, I will say, I talked about that in my video this morning. I cannot believe, and I mean, I get it somewhat, but I can't believe that in Europe they are going to kill 15 million minks. Not to be morbid, but they're killing them with carbon monoxide. So it's like, I guess more of a you fall asleep kind of thing. But it's so sad, 15 million gone.
Not that worried. I mean, I think that we need to learn a lot more about the characteristics of that virus. But I think the fact that you see mutations in the virus, making the leap between seeing something mutate when you sequence it and it actually having different clinical characteristics in humans that make it either more contagious or more pathogenic, more serious as an infection. That's a big leap. There's a big gap between the two. So we see mutations all the time. The vast majority of mutations really don't have any impact on the virus's ability to infect us or cause disease.
Okay, so that's some good news. We don't want to hear that this virus is mutating to the point where the vaccine's not going to work anymore. But what I will say is our COVID search trends in terms of like symptoms and testing and things like that are at the absolute worst level we have seen in the last 90 days. We are peaking on everything right now. This is not good. So, oh my gosh, just the last 90 days. Look at here. I put them up on the iPad here. This is the trend line over the last 90 days. Yikes. It is straight up at the end here. So we are going to be in a world of hurt in a couple weeks. Starting in a couple weeks. I think when it comes to the stock market right now, folks, cash, especially on these crazy green days. Like this entire week has been insanely green. We got a lot of big sort of a rebound off the downs that we had last week. Remember, I advocated putting in a lot of money in front before the election, so that way we're invested and then we're on for the ride, because usually things aren't going to be as bad as we think they are. But, with this COVID thing, right now, this isn't even a matter of, oh, well, Kevin, come on. Well, then maybe COVID's not going to be as bad as we think it's going to be. The market doesn't even seem to be thinking about COVID right now. That's a danger. Anytime you invest in stocks, you got to be thinking about, what is everybody concerned about right now? Oh, Senate's about to get, is about to be Republican controlled again. Sure, maybe Democrats will try to get the runoff election in January, but that's in January. And the market's just so focused and glued to this news on Biden and Trump, that nobody is, in my opinion, really paying attention to the COVID data. And, I was asked in my every morning I do private live streams. And so I was asked in the private live stream this morning, hey, Kevin, why do you pay so much attention to COVID? Isn't the media just overblowing COVID? And, I know everybody has sort of a different personal opinion on this, but when I notice that in, a country like Sweden, where we're thinking, oh, well, COVID has, Sweden has COVID under control, no problem. We start realizing, oh, crap, now all of a sudden even they are having massive outbreaks and they are losing control. That's not good. And we look around outside of South Korea and China. How else have countries been able to squash the pandemic? With 111-day lockdowns in Australia. That's how. That's it. So, while I don't believe America is going to go for lockdowns, I do believe that substantial deaths on the paper every single day are going to create a mass hysteria over the next few months. And we'll see. I've been projecting that we'll have somewhere around 150,000 cases per day, sometime in the middle of this month. Honestly, it could end up being double that. And if we start getting these insane spikes without doing anything about it, because we're not even having a conversation about it. It's not like, we've got somebody coming on TV going, all right, everybody, COVID cases are surging. We got to double down on the hand washing here. We got to double down on the social D, We're not getting that. Right now, we're so concentrated on the election that this is going to come up to bite us. And so as an investor right now, I am concerned about that. And over the next few weeks, I'm going to do whatever I can to start hoarding up cash again. I did start using my margin again to buy right before the election. So I'm going to pay that down again, have money available again, start doing whatever I can to, make sure my credit lines are all ready to go in the event things go crazy again. But there's a good chance we'll have another big drop before the end of the year with this trajectory. No guarantees, obviously, so I'm not going to recommend selling any stocks. I don't like doing that, but so I'm in it for the ride. Most of my money's in the market, right? But that's usually how I am. It's just going to be a matter of when am I going to buy? I'm not going to buy off euphoric earnings. I'm going to buy if we have another big setback. Otherwise, I'll just sit and watch. But for now, let's keep an eye on this. This is kind of scary. In the meantime, get your life insurance, get your 3 free stocks. Thank you so much for watching, folks. My head is cold, I have to say. It is 65 degrees in this room, and I'm not making an excuse as to why I've been wearing the hat a lot, but honestly, I'm not comfortable in my own skin right now. That's the truth of it. But I will say having a hat or hair is much warmer. Thank you so much for watching, folks. We'll see you in the next one.